Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. I hope everyone, as he says, moving his mouse mat. Hope everybody's well. Hope you all had a good weekend. I hope you're all surviving the heat. For those of you not used to it, yeah, it's pretty damn warm. It's like an oven out there today. But yeah, luckily it's not too bad at the moment in here. Although it will heat up with the computer running and the lights going and everything else. I'm sure it'll get a bit hot and sweaty as the night goes on. Anyway, it's fine at the moment. So, how is everyone? Let's have a look in the chat and see who we've got this evening. Lord Maiden, yes, I did notice that you were playing Heroes of Might and Magic 4. Nice to see you in early. Ortega, hello in the rerun, my friend. Ice Moon, good evening. We've also got Blizzards, Tolmod, Greybeard. We've got Bill Otham, hello to you, fine folks. We've also got Connor, said he's got sweat in places I didn't know could sweat. What a beautiful image I have in my head, my friend. Nigel Jones, hello to you, sir. We've also got Christian Reeves, good evening, mate. And we've got Al Cluley, sorry, says, hey all, that's where I got the H from. Hey all, hope you're all well. I'm so excited for the new edition. A bit of attrition due to Shapegate, but super hyped. We'll touch on Shapegate tonight, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole too much tonight. Nigel says, will it be bacon ice cream on the menu tonight rather than bacon butties? I'm on a health kick at the moment. Let's just let's leave it at that. So yeah, no bacon chat. We've got Stu McMurtry as well. Hello, Stu. Hello, Brian Schmidt as well. How are you doing? So he's got to say GW's gotten pretty excited about Kill Team for the first time since before launch. Really wanted to love Kill Team, but in the end it was a bit too fiddly. Yeah, I tend to agree as well. I mean, oh, little fly. I wanted to like Kill Team as well, but it was a bit fiddly. We have also got, as he scrolls down, Barry Kleiber. Good evening to you, sir. How are you doing? Tasty Brain Drains in as well. Hello. Ice Moon. Steve-O. I can't say him as the Joker, buddy. VJ, good morning to you, sir. How are you doing? Bobby Clark as well. He says, been painting desert bases. You looked like you had quite a few desert bases lined up, made to be done. So yeah, that was a pretty a full-on experience, I think, for you. Jeff Higdon, good evening to you. Hello, Rathammer as well. VJ says he's finished building his Dead Zone core set and his Vehement Force last night, and now to get on with his Kings of War in the Hall set. You've smashing them out, mate. Smashing them out. Good evening, Jason, as well. Hello, Glenn Griffin. Elliot is in as well. Hello, Elliot Martinez. Ed Handley. We've got Cleedrak. She's super excited for Kill Team, but it's making me feel pressure to finish Madeira models as we're playing through that. Pressure is maybe not the right word, but a bit of encouragement's never a bad thing. VG says, cup of green tea first. I've been on the green tea this week as well, mate. We've got Antonio in as well. Says, good evening. Let's see if the new edition turns out to be my Warcry on 40k. I think it's certainly kind of shaping up that way. But yeah, for those that didn't see the topic for tonight's stream or not quite sure what we're talking about tonight, so I'm going to tell you everything we know about Kill Team, or the new version of Kill Team, I should say. And I will give you some kind of some thoughts that I've got, and maybe some guesses about things I think we're going to see. But I'm going to be telling you the facts, if you like, the things that we know for certain. None of this kind of sort of making stuff up to kind of create a bit of hype or anything like that. We're going to be talking. So if you don't know a lot about it, if you've not been following the GW stuff, you've not been watching any of the channels, or you have been watching them, but maybe you haven't seen all of the different videos, because I know a lot of them have been producing almost like a video every time GW releases something. I like to kind of absorb some of that, get my head around it, and then release something which is a big chunk of information in one go. So that's what I'm doing tonight. Tiny War Games, good evening to you, mate. How are you? Andrew Fairbanks says, is there a moratorium on talking about Beast Snaggers box? Lots of feel bads from everyone I talk to. I don't know anything about it, mate. What are people feeling bad about it for? Is it because it's sold out? Is it another one of them? Because get used to that. If this is not the first rodeo when it comes to buying Games Workshop stuff. G Daddy Cliff, good evening to you, fella. VJ laughing at Shapegate. Radek, good evening to you as well. Jim Zom, good evening. Says, greetings. Happy afternoon for you, sir. Wayne Haywood says, from the tropical West Midlands, I know what you're feeling, mate. Over the weekend, I think Saturday was absolutely roasting. It was like well up into the kind of low 30s here. Yesterday was a little cooler, but like still high 20s. today's been another warm one. It started off pretty overcast this morning, but we sat outside and had dinner this evening. It was so hot. It was too hot in the house to sit inside and eat. So yeah. Tyler Peck, hello mate. Says his son himself are excited for Kill Team. Wag. Ice Moon saying I forgot to smash the like button. 62 people and 26 likes. You lot. What? I can't even rely upon you for a like button. Vijay says smashing out the buildings is no problem. It's the painting when smash turns to snail pace. Yeah, just mixing it up, mate. Just keeps you on your toes. Tony Howell, good evening to you, mate. Radek says, in his opinion, so far Kill Team looks like an okay light skirmish game. I would only ever need one of these, so it's going to be a choice between Kill Team and Warcry. I guess it depends if you're more sci-fi or fantasy based. I think that's probably going to be the choice for a lot of people. Although it does feel like Kill Team might still lean more slightly into the competitive side, whereas Warcry almost kind of avoids it. Yes. And Frederick Schultz as well saying, quite warm here in Germany, lucky enough not to live in any of the flooded areas. Yeah, my heart goes out to anybody that has been affected by that. I was looking at the pictures of the weekend and it is not fun at all. Yeah, Lord Maiden says, expecting 33 degrees this week. Staying inside is not the answer, mate. Honestly, it's even warmer indoors. You need to get out and get some sunshine on your skin and get some healthy vibes on you. Sitting inside when the sun's out is not a good look. V says, but you got one, mate. Enjoy. You got one. What was I thinking? I've got one. I don't know. And Frantic says hi to everyone as well. Nice one. So we've got a nice little bunch in tonight. As I said before, we're going to be talking about everything we know about Kill Team. I was looking to see if there was anything new released today. Sometimes Games Workshop releases something sort of late in the day with a bit more information, and I thought I would have a mad panic and update tonight's stream. But no, there was nothing more to update. So we know what we know. Weekend for me was a bit of a funny one, if I'm perfectly honest. I've been a bit out of sorts this weekend because I don't really want to kind of go into details or anything, but I did end up in hospital on Thursday night. So that wasn't what I was expecting. That wasn't where I thought my Thursday night would go. I'll probably talk about it at some point, but yeah, I don't really want to kind of talk about it tonight. I want to keep it positive. So Tasty Brain Drain says, as someone who lives in a very flood prone area, my heart goes out to all those who are dealing with it. I saw the pictures yesterday really because it started to subside, some of the flooding now, and the debris left behind is just awful, unbelievably awful. Jim says, the sun makes me angry. My favourite thing to do is sit inside when the sun's out. I know what you mean, mate, and I get a bit irritated sometimes in the heat as well when it's just too hot to do stuff. However, yeah, it's good for you. It's good for your mental health to get outside. Even if you go outside and sit in the shade, getting some fresh air, getting some rays on your body a little bit, with sun cream on and all that kind of stuff. It's just good for you. And I think we kind of, as hobbyists, I think a lot of us just kind of want to stay indoors and batten down the hatches and just kind of do a hobby. And that's why I mentioned it the weekend on Saturday. Was like, you kind of like, there's plenty of time for hobby. Like even just getting outside and getting a little bit of fresh air and kind of getting a bit of kind of vitamin E in you and stuff like that. So, or vitamin D, I should say, is it? Hello from Russia. I apologise. I have no idea how to pronounce your name there in that Cyrillic lettering there. So I'll just say hello, my Russian friend. And Radek says, you gave voice to what I subconsciously knew already. I much prefer 40k to AOS, so it's probably got to be Kill Team. That's normally the kind of the if there's two games that are very similar in kind of styles, it tends to be. I tend to prefer the like the kind of sci-fi version because I'm more into sci-fi than I'm into fantasy type stuff. So Lorden says, me and light and heat do not mix, much like me and humans. It's quite nice to get outside as long as you're kind of wearing the right clothes, you got your suntan lotion on, take a drink of water with you. Just get out. You'd be surprised how much better you feel with a little bit of warmth on your body and a bit of sunlight. And honestly, I can't recommend it enough. Tyler says, dude, good vibes being sent. I hope you're better. It was and Frederick saying nothing serious. It kind of was something serious at the time, but it kind of sorted itself out. But Yeah, I might talk about it later. I'm not going to talk about it now. We're talking about hobby stuff tonight, so I don't want to start going down that kind of. It's a bit more of a depression route. So yeah, it was a bit of a funny one. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm alive and well, and I'm here streaming. But I must admit, on Thursday night, I wasn't quite sure if I'd be here. Hobby Hero says he's really excited doing a Kill Team podcast too. Nice one, mate. I look forward to listening to it when it's done. Blizzard says, I'm very prone to heat exhaustion, so I totally avoid the sun as much as possible. Al says, new Rams helmet. Yes, I did treat myself, mate, on was it Friday? I think it was. It might have been Friday or Saturday. I might have treated myself. After Thursday evening, I thought, kind of, life's too short. I'm just gonna get the things I want in life. So yes, I did treat myself to the latest edition of this season's Rams helmet. So. Put that up there. Vijay says fresh air and vitamin D is great for you regardless if you like it. So yeah, that's exactly where my thoughts are, mate. Rathammer says GW is looking for more action hero moments with this Kill Team. It's something I spoke quite a lot about when it came to Warcry, and one of the things I said was that Warcry gave so many more kind of cinematic moments than Kill Team ever did. And I'll probably talk about it later on tonight once I've gone through the kind of the main topic. But I want to talk about some of the reasons why I think that this is a good move for Kill Team, and why I do think it's going to be overall a better game. Kind of spoiling some of the chat, I suppose, by saying that. But there's a few things when I've kind of actually took the time to sit down, absorb all the information. Because I think the problem is when you get it in drips and drabs, you can't form a full picture of, like, it's like, oh, we've found out about these movement templates, but what does that mean? Like, why are they using these symbols? What's that about? And I think people go off down one route, kind of worrying about stuff, like I talked about last week, being the fear of the unknown and all that stuff, worrying about stuff that they don't have the full picture on. And whilst we still don't have the complete full picture, we have quite a bit of information now. And by me talking about it tonight, putting it all in one place, it kind of helps to sort of to fill that out, to firm out what we know, and to be able to kind of make a bit more of an informed decision about it. And I think I'm kind of coming round to what this new one's going to be about. Phil Campbell, good evening, mate. Vijay seemed very happy you're still with us. Yeah. I'll tell you the details eventually, mate. Andrew says new Orc box didn't make it 10 minutes, and the queue transformed from when everyone gets in randomly to a true line. So if you showed up 15 minutes before launch, end of the line, wasn't how Dominion went. To be honest, mate, if you showed up 15 minutes before launch, end of the line. Yeah, if that's the case, I didn't know much about it, but yeah, it would have been better if they kind of at least tell people they're gonna. That's annoying me now. I'm gonna have to move that. It would be better if they tell people how they're gonna do stuff. WM says, I love the sun, just can't stand the heat. And VJ saying humidity's a killer. Yeah, it's pretty humid here, to be fair, mate. But do you know what it is? I'm not going to complain about the sunshine. I piss and moan about the rain and the wind and the cold weather normally. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy the sun while it's here. Andy Smith says, hello from the Smiths. This is more GW nonsense and people fall for it. Who cares? John Clay says, Kill Team sounds great. I love the sound of the dice pool mechanics, particularly for combat. Yeah, the dice pool is something I'll talk about later on as well. VS says, finished painting the Stormstrike box tonight. Not for AOS, but D&D games. Nice one. And WM says, are you going to show us some links and pictures along your talk on the Kill Team news? I am. So what we'll do is we'll start now. So if I get up the bits I need to do. So you know, folks, that when I do these, let me go to here. You know that when I do these cats, I always kind of put the effort into them. I always kind of do my research. So I've kind of gone through all the GW stuff. I've gone through all of the sites. I've gone through some videos of people talking about stuff. And I've kind of compiled all the information into what is fact. What is the stuff that we absolutely do know? And then I've kind of put a smattering of stuff in where I'm kind of, I'll tell you what we don't know for certain, and I'll tell you what we're kind of, what our best guess is, kind of thing. But most of the stuff I'm going to talk about tonight will be absolutely kind of like fact stuff, if you like. So if we go to here, see, I told you I always do preparation. I mean, I don't just kind of sit and talk at the camera and not give you any information when we do these kind of streams. So tonight I'm going to be talking through everything that we know about Kill Team. And I'll give you my opinions and my thoughts, and we'll probably round it off with a little bit about what I think now that I've got a bit more information. But I'll make everything clear as we go through it. What is the stuff that's kind of my opinions? What's the stuff that's a bit of guesswork? And I'll make sure that you know which stuff is the fact, so you know exactly what it is that you're getting into with this. So, without further ado, this is a brand new version of Kill Team. And when I say a new version, it's not an updated version. It's not the most recent or the current Kill Team version with some tweaks in it. This is a brand new, built from the ground up, new rule set, a completely new game. So the current system that we have now is quite closely linked to Warhammer 40k and its stat lines and things like wounds and data sheets and stuff. This has been completely redesigned. Think of it more in the vein of how Warcry is compared to Age of Sigmar, rather than how current Kill Team is almost a branch off from 40k. So for those of you who used 40k, who used Kill Team as a way to kind of learn some of the basic stuff for 40k, the new Kill Team is completely separate rules, completely separate mechanics, completely separate stat lines. The game is alternative activation, which I think a lot of people have been crying out for quite some time, and it does draw a lot of its kind of design cues from some more modern rule sets. So if you remember my live stream a few weeks ago that I did about is Warhammer rules stuck in the past, then you can see a lot of the stuff that I talked about, some of the games which I thought had some really interesting kind of modern mechanics. You can see a lot of that has been drawn on for this new version of Kill Team. Now, Kill Team, this is set to go up for pre-order in August 2021. And at this point in time, when we're recording, there's no price point has been kind of talked about for it. But my best guess, and this is just a guess from me, I've not kind of sort of seen any leaks or anything like that. The guess from me is this is probably going to be about £125 UK, which equates to roughly 199 US dollars over in the States, about 155 euros in Europe, and about 290 Australian dollars. And for anybody asking about, well, that doesn't equate properly, those are the GW exchange rates, not the global exchange rates. So if you see a game on a UK website for £125, it will be $290 Australian on the Australian site. And I stress that is my best guess, but based upon what you get in the box, the price of box sets that have been released recently, and where things have been in the past, I think £125 is what we can expect. So let's have a look and see what you get in the box for your money. So here is a picture of everything that you get in the box. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about this, but you can see that there's dice, there's transfers, there's tokens, there's some books in there, there's cards, there's measuring devices. But notice that there are no stat cards in that picture. So for those of you that are still convinced we're going to get stat cards, I'd put money on it that there's going to be no actual stat cards in this game. So like Warcry has stat cards for each individual model in your warband, it doesn't look like we're going to get them in Kill Team. But we'll come on to where the stats will be found soon. Oops, skip ahead a bit there. So this first one is these are the two factions that you get in the box, and these are the Veteran Guardsmen, and we also have the Commandos as well. These are the two factions. The Veteran Guardsmen here are painted up like the Death Corps of Krieg, which is seeing a plastic release for the first time. For those that don't know, up until now we've only been able to get those from Forge World in resin. And these are new orc sculpts, which are basically being called Commandos. And these are both separate factions to Imperial Guard and to the Greenskins, which are also going to be available to play. So these are separate factions, if you like, from that standard Imperial Guard and normal orcs. These are multi-part kits. They're fully customizable. For example, they don't just get built one way, or not like a couple of options type thing. They're not push fit, and they come with some different kind of customizable options. So yeah, these will be available separately at some point in the future. If you choose not to buy this box set, you can still be able to buy these models separately in the future. The set also comes with a nice card mat to play your games on, which is the regular sort of 30-inch by 22 inches or 760 millimeters by 568 millimeters if you're more into metric sizes. And these are the standard kill team sizes, the same as the Warcry sizes as well. It also comes with 2 books. One is the core rule book, which contains all of the rules of how to play the game, but it does not include any of the model stat lines. The current kill team book for current edition does have all of the stats for the different factions in that one core book. The new version won't have that. You'll also get this sort of release-specific Octarius book, which I assume you won't be able to get outside of this release. And it'll have things like themed missions and some background for this particular set. Plus, it'll have the stat lines in for the 2 factions that you get inside this box for the models that are included. And we do know that Games Workshop mentioned this when they did their stream. They're releasing a kind of a chapter-approved type of a book, which will come out on launch day as well, which will have all of the stats to allow you to play these 2 factions. Well, I'm saying these 2 plus a total of 21 different factions, and we'll come on to those factions a little bit later on. But it'll allow you to play those 21 different factions from release day. There will be some limitations on the models you can take, and judging by what the website shows now, I think we know what those are going to be, and I'll show you that website later on as well. For those that haven't seen it up close, this is the terrain that you'll get in the box. It's very orc themed. It's kind of got a little bit of Mad Max kind of sort of wreckage type feel to it, and I'm sure that some people will absolutely love this. Some bits already came out in the Speed Freaks box, so it's not all brand new stuff, but quite a lot of it is. Also included in the box, and it's been sort of the main talking point recently, has been these kind of these measurement range templates. So these are used for movement and also for range, and there is 4 available sizes. There is triangle, circle, square, and pentagon, and these are used throughout the game to give you movement ranges and sort of things that they affect, like aura sizes, things like flamers, how far a flamer can shoot, for example. And they can also be used in like multiples, such as like 3 circles is a movement measurement, for example. So each shape also translates to 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and 6 inch, as you can see in the shapes there below. And GW have even said you can still use your tape measure as well if you want to. So if it says you can move 3 circle, that's 6 inches, you can still use your 6 inch tape measure. Now, this is my opinion bit. My issue is kind of with the use of the symbols. It feels like a design choice as opposed to a really sort of good reason to use symbols rather than just measurements. But if it does prove to speed up the game, if it does kind of prove to make it more easier to get into, then I'm sure we'll all kind of hold our hands up and say, well done, GW. But so time will tell, or whether that's the case. One thing they have been talking about is things like movement, sort of up and down buildings and things will be like, to move up a level in a building will be a circle of movement, if you like. So 2 inches of movement. So regardless of whether it's 2 inches, 2.5 inches, 3 inches, to move to that first level will just be like 1 circle's worth of movement, if you like. So that might streamline it a little bit. It still didn't need to be called a circle for my mind, but that's kind of irrelevant. But we will see if it works out for the best. But that's been the main talking point at the moment. However, they're here to stay, so kind of get used to them or continue to use your tape measure, entirely up to you. So we now know as well, we know about the stat lines, and this is basically like a data card or a stat line for a trooper veteran. So in the top left there, you can see that we have the name of the model, the trooper veteran, as I mentioned, and you have a little bit of flavor text about the model. Next to it on the right, we have the stat line. So we can see there where it says M is movement. So this is, as I said before, about 3 circles of movement, which we know is the equivalent of 6 inches. So 3 circles is 3 times 2 inches. APL is the action point limit, and this is how many actions a model can take. So we know that most kind of human-sized models, if you like, can take 2 action points, except things like Marines, sort of intercessors, that type of stuff. Superhuman type things might be able to take more. So I think we've read that they're going to take 3 action points. And the assumption is you will get so many action points to spend on your faction in a turn. And this is one way that it's going to sort of in current kill team, if you've got a horde army, you can out-activate your opponent. The same thing happens in Warcry. If I've got 10 models and you've got 5 models, I get 10 activations, you get 5 activations. So I think this is one way we're going to see kind of both players get the same amount of actions, and you can choose how you want to spend them across your models. We also don't know for certain what actions are at the moment. We can make a wise assumption that an action is going to be like a move, a shoot, an attack, that sort of things, but we haven't had those confirmed yet. GA is the only part of the stat line that hasn't been confirmed yet. We don't know for certain what this is. The guesses have been it's kind of something like a group allowance or maybe a group activation or something, but we don't know for certain what that's going to be. DF is your defense, so this is how many dice you will roll to try and defend a ranged attack. SV is the save. This is the stat that you need to equal or better to save any ranged attacks with your defense dice. And W is wounds, so this is how many wounds or kind of health points that your model has before it is taken out. Now moving down as well below that, we can see that there is these are the weapons that are available. So we can see lasgun and bayonet here. In front of those two is a symbol, which is either the crosshairs, which is the symbol for a ranged weapon, or it's the crossed swords, which is the symbol for a close combat weapon. And we'll come on to these in a little bit when I talk about how combat works and how attacks work. Right along the bottom there of the card there as well, you can see that we have keywords. The one that's in orange bold there shows them what faction the model is from. So this one is a veteran guardsman. So veteran guardsman is an actual faction in this case. And the next keywords are relevant for when certain effects kind of target a certain type of keyword. And you can see there where we have a regiment in brackets there. That's where you can choose for your veteran guardsman to be the Death Corps of Krieg, for example, or you could just have a completely kind of homebrew type of faction using those models. Next up, we talk about how ranged weapons work. So weapons generally have no maximum range in Kill Team in this new version, and the reason for this is that the play area is relatively small. The assumption would be that any of the weapons in this universe will be able to at least kind of stretch across the battlefield. But along the list there, you can see that basically we got for the flamer, we've got SR on the thing there. If I can bring up my little laser pointer here, you can see SR, and that is your special rules. And in this case, the flamer only has a range of red hex, which we know is 6 inches. So a flamer can only shoot 6 inches. It's not like a flamer can shoot right away across the battlefield, for example. And it also has a rule called Torrent White Circle, which means it will hit all models within the white circle range, which we know is 2 inches of the target model. So as the kind of Promethean fire sort of fires out, it will hit some of the models around it within 2 inches as well. Now the stats along the line there as well, so for both of these, the flamer and for the long las, we can see A, which is the number of attack dice. This is how many dice you will roll when you make an attack. And then we also have BW/WS. This is your ballistic skill or weapon skill, and this is the number that you need to equal or better on those attack dice that you've rolled. So for the flamer, you roll 5 dice and you need 2 pluses. Next, also, so when you roll those dice, there are 2 different types of hits. There are standard successful hits, and then there are critical hits. So anything you hit on a 6 is classed as a critical hit. D is the damage, so this is how much damage you will do if you have a successful hit. On these particular models, they're a little bit different to some of the others because the numbers are the same, but normally the first number will be how much damage you will do with a standard hit, and the second number will be how much damage you do with a critical hit. And the reason these are a little bit different is because the flamer is pretty powerful to start with, and the long las has a different modifier if it does have a critical hit, which we'll come on to now. So you can see there where we've got this this question mark here. This is basically what like a critical kind of achievement type thing. And this has got MW3. We know this means mortal wounds 3. So if you roll your 4 dice here and you get 4 6s, then you will do 12 mortal wounds before your opponent even gets the chance to roll any defense dice. The chances of getting those 4/6s are pretty slim. But basically, mortal wounds are wounds that come off before your opponent gets to try and defend. So once you've rolled your attack dice, your opponent then rolls the number of defense dice that was on there, the stat card that we looked at, and they're trying to achieve their save number. And the way that the attack works is for every successful save that the opponent has, they negate one of the successful hits. And if they want to negate any of the critical hits, it needs a critical save or it needs 2 successful saves to cancel out a critical hit. So that's quite an interesting way that works. Now, close combat works in a very different way. So there are no saving rolls in close combat. The idea is both players are kind of fighting against each other, and it's not like you're attacking your opponent and they're trying to save it. If, for example, you've got a tiny little kind of Gretchen and you're coming up against a Marine, the Marine is not going to kind of stand there trying to save himself against a knife. He's going to attack straight back. So both players roll their melee dice at the same time. And then starting with the attacker, so whoever's the aggressor in this, each player takes it in turns to decide if they want their successes to equal a hit and cause damage, or to equal a parry and stop one of their opponent's hits from getting through. So on this particular one here, the power weapon, you can see that the power weapon rolls 4 dice and it's trying to achieve a 3+. A standard hit does 4 damage, but a critical hit does 6 damage. And it also has a special rule there, which is called lethal 5+, and that means that its critical hits are not only on a 6, but also on a 5 as well. And my assumption is that you can only parry a critical hit with a critical hit as well. So it's going to be quite interesting. This is one thing I want to kind of see how it plays out, because it does feel like it's going to kind of slow down a little bit at this point, where you both roll your dice and then you kind of look and you go, all right, well, I've got 3 hits and you've got 3 hits, so I want one of mine to hit you. And there's going to be this weird kind of stutter in the game. I think I would have preferred it to almost say, I've got 3 hits, you've got 2 hits. That means I hit you 3 times. I hit you 1 more time than you hit me, so 1 damage goes through. I think that would potentially speed it up. But until we play it out, I'll reserve judgment on that one. But that's the one rule at the minute where I think I feel like it could kind of stutter in the flow of the game a little bit on that one. Movement we've talked about with those beautiful new movement templates is quite an interesting one. So it's changed in quite a big way. However, how it's measured and shown is what's thrown a few curveballs, for example. So a model can move up to its M stat, which in this case is like 3 circles, for example. But we see here in this picture at the bottom here, we can see here that the movement is from the front of a base. If you can see my little red pointer there, from the front of a base to the front of a base. So much in the same way we would do it now with kind of a tape measure, we'd move that 2 inches or that 4 inches or whatever. However, when I'm used to using templates in things like Marvel Crisis Protocol or Star Wars Legion, you move from the back of the template to the front of the template, and these measurement sticks are basically kind of cut to the right length. Basically, that gets you the full movement. And if you've got a bigger base, you get a little bit of extra bonus movement. That's just part of the game. So it's not going to be a case of kind of put the template in front of the base and then move the base to the end of the template. It's going to be exactly the same as how we move it as we do now with tape measures. We also know that moving over or up and down terrain will reduce movement by a number of increments. So this is one of the reasons I think that they've put these kind of shapes in there, for example. So if you move over a piece of terrain here, it will sort of reduce your movement by 1 circle. So instead of being able to move 3 circles, 6 inches, you'll be able to move 2 circles, 4 inches. And I mentioned before about the movement up and down in heights of terrain. The way it's been worded is that basically it will just be a movement up might be 1 circle of movement, for example. So again, this has kind of been the biggest talking point, and I can kind of see both sides of people's arguments. I think the symbols are a bit random. I don't know why they didn't just leave them as numbers, but by the same stretch, it doesn't exactly break the game, and I'm sure we'll all get used to it very quickly anyway. So you don't need me to go any deeper into that stuff. Now here we can also see a couple of these data stats. On the data card, there is space for abilities and unique actions. And that's where these specialist skills come in to show what kind of sets that model apart from all of the different other options that you could have taken. So on the left there, we can see the hardened veteran, which is one of the options you can take for the veteran guardsman. He's a little bit more resilient. He can basically negate one of his wounds on a 5+, and it can also ignore APL modifiers. And that suggests that there are going to be things in the game which will modify the action points limit that you can take. So it might be if you've taken damage or over half your damage, you might sort of lose one action point. Or maybe if an opponent sort of hits you with something, it might remove an action point or something like that. And the other one, the bottom right one there, basically it's called Signal. That costs 1 action point to do, and that is for the Comms Veteran, which again is another model that you can have. And he can basically trade in one of his action points and give it to another friendly model within the Pentagon range there, which is 6 inches. So as long as they're not in the engagement range of an enemy, you can basically give another model an extra action point, which might be useful for sort of grabbing an objective or something like that. Next up, we have this, what we call the 4 different specialisms. Now, specialisms are something that we know about in current Kill Team. However, it looks a bit different here. It says that basically these are the 4 that a model can be. It can be Combat, Staunch, Marksman, and Scout. And also here we can see as well that these symbols are on the bottom of the stat cards, and it shows the 4 different symbols. 2 of them are kind of greyed out, 2 of them are orange. I'm assuming that the orange ones are the ones that you can choose from for this particular model. Now what we do know is this is going to be used in narrative games, maybe for some kind of campaign setting for leveling up your characters or something like that. So by them saying that, it would suggest that it might not be used in matched play. But this is kind of yet to be confirmed, but that is the assumption of what it is. So, Kill Team, my thoughts. This is all the information that we know, and this basically explains quite a lot about how the game plays. My thoughts now I've got more information is I think they've brought some really cool things into the game. I think the idea now of dice pools, sort of having 4 dice, trying to get like 3 pluses, not having kind of stat modifiers, so it's not like this modifies your attack to it's normally a 3+, but it goes up to a 4+, that kind of thing. It doesn't look like that's going to be a thing. That looks really interesting, and by stretching out the size of dice pools, the size of the number of dice that you roll, and being able to stretch out what you need to hit, in combination with having more wounds and being able to do more damage, makes it a lot easier to balance out models because there's a greater range between them. If you basically roll 1 dice, and 1 dice basically hits on a 4+, and then it wounds on a 4+, and then basically your opponent's trying to save it with 1 dice on a 4+, a lot of times one of those 4+ is not going to come up and basically nothing happens. At least this way, it basically creates those cinematic moments where there's always something happens. You might only do 1 damage, or you might only do 2 damage to like a 7 wound guardsman, for example, but at least something is happening in that game. I think I read a stat somewhere before that basically, if I'm trying to remember, in current Kill Team, I think sort of like, is it that you only ever hit something 25% of the time or something? I might be remembering that wrong, but there was some stat about that because there's like a roll to hit, a roll to wound, a roll to save, and you also had your injury rolls. I think it was like most of the time you wouldn't do any damage if you like. So I do like what they're doing with that. I like what they're doing with movement to a certain extent. I still can't get my head around why they had symbols rather than just kind of numbers or saying short, medium, long range or something like that. Why they've got those symbols. I'm not sure why they've then picked colours as well, because the colours they've chosen are quite confusing for colourblind people. So it's a bit of a weird thing with colours and symbols and numbers. But I think there'll be something more that we see during the game that will make that feel more obvious, because I don't want to think that is just somebody going, oh, that would be a good idea, that'll make it a bit different, because that's not a reason to design it into the game. So I'm hoping and expecting we'll see more information that will make that feel a little bit more sort of feasible, if you like. But generally, it feels like it's going to play relatively fast. My concerns maybe are about that kind of face-to-face close combat mechanic of almost this like sort of we all roll our dice and then the game kind of pauses for a second where we say, right, we're going to take turns and right, well, this first one I'm going to do is a hit. And then your opponent goes, oh, well, in that case, this first one I'm going to do is a hit. And then you're saying, right, okay, the second one, well, I'm going to do it as a parry to negate that hit that you just did. And I think that might kind of slow the game down a little bit. It reminds me of Aristea. If anybody's played Aristea by Corvus Belli, it's an arena combat game where you roll a dice, there's lots of different symbols, and you're trying to match symbols up with symbols on your card that cause triggers. And for me, there's always this kind of point in the game where you roll a dice and then you go, right, hang on a second, let me just look and see what I've got, and does this match this card? And that's kind of what's coming up in my mind, and that's what it's making me think about. But until I play it, until I see it in action, those fears might not be founded on anything. So how do I feel about it? Is it a game I'll pick up now? I was apprehensive about Kill Team because I just thought, well, there's plenty of other kind of sci-fi skirmish games out there. I didn't really enjoy Kill Team at its full kind of rules level, if you like, with by the time Commanders and Elites and everything else came out. I quite enjoyed Kill Team as its core box, taking out the specialisms and kind of house ruling a bit of it. But I think I've seen enough now that I might potentially kind of pick this up. The models, they're kind of nice, but that's not really the draw for me. The terrain, I think, could be... I think it's not as obviously used in other game systems and other game settings. So the orc stuff looks very orky. I'm not sure I'd use it in Infinity, for example, or I'm not sure I would use it in kind of Dead Zone or something like that. So I feel like it's very specific or very 40k specific. But it's nice stuff, and it's a little bit different. And in lieu of anything else really coming out at the minute, no more exciting news for anything else really. I think I might be kind of tempted to try and pick this up. If I miss out on the pre-order, I know for a fact I'm going to have to be there prior to 10 o'clock. If I miss out on it, I miss out on it. I'm not going to kind of cry over it because we'll be able to get the rule book later on. But yeah, I must admit my opinion has shifted on this with a bit more information, and I only wish they could have shared some of this stuff. I mean, I've just shared with you in less than half an hour. They could have done exactly this kind of thing when they had the stream a couple of weeks ago. So. Yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if it's a game that you're going to be considering picking up. Have you seen enough that you know it's not for you? Are you still waiting for some specific information that you don't know about? Let me know what you think, and I'll look forward to the conversation. So, folks, that's what I think. That's what I think of it. Oh, actually, if I close that and close that, I'll tell you what I didn't show you all. And I was going to, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pop that back on. We'll go to here. What I didn't show you, so yeah, before I forget, this is the Kill Team website. And here, a lot of this information I've kind of went through. It shows you the box and shows you the models and bits and pieces. A little bit of a kind of background story thing. But it tells you about the factions. So it says, across the galaxy, small teams of combat specialists can be found among every race and creed. They're employed to take on the most dangerous missions when deploying an entire army is out of the question. And here are the 21 different factions that I assume are going to be playable from day one in their kind of their chapter approved type book. So obviously we've got Space Marines there, and if you click on these individual ones, it basically tells you the models that I assume will be available to use. And unsurprisingly, there are 10 different options for Space Marines. So we've got Intercessors, Assault Intercessors, Infiltrators, Incursors, Reavers, Heavy Intercessors, Tactical Marines, Scouts, Scout Snipers, and Deathwatch Veterans. So that, as always, there's a good choice of models for Space Marines. But then when you come down to some of the other factions, for example, Grey Knights has only got two choices, the Grey Knight and the Justicar. If you come across to Imperial Guard, so Imperial Guard is a separate faction from those veterans. Imperial Guard have Guardsmen, and they have Tempestus Scions. You then have Forge World, which is basically Skitarii. So you've got Skitarii Ranger, Skitarii Vanguard, Sicarian Rust Stalker, and a Sicarian Infiltrator. You come across the Ecclesiarchy, I think that's the right word. And we've got a Battle Sister, a Sister Repenter, and an Arco-Flagellant. We've got Talons of the Emperor, which we've got the Custodian Guard and the Sisters of Silence. We've also got Thousand Suns, where there's a Rubric Marine and a Zangor. We've got Commandos, which is the new orcs that we see in the Kill Team starter box. So we've got a Commando Knob, Commando Dakka Boy, a Breacher Boy, a Burner Boy, Comms Boy, Rocket Boy, Slasher Boy, Sniper Boy, a Grot, and that's it. And I think all of those are available from the kit that's in the box. We've then got Death Guard, where there's essentially a Plague Marine or a Poxwalker. There's a Chaos Space Marine there for the Traitor Space Marines. So a Chaos Marine and a Chaos Cultist. Chaos Demons have Plague Bearers. They have Bloodletters, Demonettes, and Horrors. And you can go on and you can check out this website yourself. But the point I'm trying to make is that, as always, Space Marines get a lot of choice, which makes them much more flexible, as always. And I'm hoping as we go through these, basically, these are the Veteran Guardsmen. You can see there's 9 choices. So because there's a new kit come out with lots of different choices on them, you can see there's loads of choices there. Is it Troops or Tropes? Basically has a one Harlequin. Basically, that's it. That's it, a player. That's the only choice they've got. You can only take Harlequins. The Comorites have got a Kabbalite warrior there and a Witch. So that it's going to be funny in the early days that where some have lots of different choices of what they can take, and some have like 1 or 2 choices. And I assume what will happen is we'll see expansions like Elite and Commandos type thing, sort of filling out some of those rosters. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit, I think Marines are going to end up being a bit one-sided from day one, I think, generally. Even things like we've got Tomb Worlds there, so there's a Necron Warrior, an Immortal, a Flayed One, and a Deathmark. Gene Stealer, for High Fleets there, we've got Gene Stealers, Tyrannid Warriors, Termagants, and Hormagants. The Cadre Mercenary has basically got a Kroot Carnivore, a Kroot Hound, and a Kroot Ox. And the last one there being Brood Covens. It's got an Acolyte Hybrid, a Neophyte Hybrid, and a Hybrid Metamorph. So it kind of shows there that basically these are what we will expect to see in this chapter approved type book from day one with all of the stats for these models. But yeah, if you're a Marine player, you're going to have plenty of choice. If you've got any other factions outside of the ones in the box, you're kind of going to be limited, which might not be a bad thing. It might just mean that you don't have to buy quite so many different boxes of stuff to make up a kill team. I think what we'll have a look at probably as this launches and we get more information, we might look at some of the, like, what's the cheapest kill teams to make, the kind of the easiest entry points from a cost perspective, and we'll see how that goes. So let me go back to the screen and we'll catch up on some of the chat now. So I'm not going to go through everybody's comments because there's quite a lot here. Let's have a look. Bingus McDragus seems to have been getting blanked a lot. I've got no idea what he was saying, but I never got to see anyway as well. I'm just going to kind of... So, Michael Roscom saying he's curious, playing a new version. Hopefully it broadens and brings lots of people in the hobby. Quite possibly will, mate. Quite possibly will. Christian sharing the link for the Patreon there. Thank you, Christian. Chris Warden saying 199 USA. That would be my guess, mate. Yeah. Hobby Hero says, anyone familiar with Skirmish Miniature Gaming? They're running a campaign for Giant's Ghost to end this edition. Giant's Ghost. Gorn's Ghost. I was going to say I didn't recognise that one. Michael saying he's not interested in his box set, only the compendium book and the individual kill teams for sale. So you will need the rule book, which will come out separately. The compendium book will come out separately, and then you kind of you pick up your models as and whatever you like. Vijay saying, yeah, he thought about 250 to 300 Australian dollars. Sounds about right. Michael says, as long as you guys don't scalp all the boxes. I think, unfortunately, because of what's in the box, I think we are going to see a lot of people buying it purely for the kind of for the Death Corps of Krieg and the Orc models, unfortunately. Warhammer saying minis look amazing. Ed saying, to be fair, Warcry moved away from cards with the new faction guides too. It did, but if you buy a faction box, a faction-specific box, you still get the cards inside the boxes as well. So if you buy a Warcry-specific warband, you do still get the cards in the boxes. Brandon Rutter says, almost guaranteed to be limited edition. It definitely is limited edition. They've said that themselves. The idea is this is like an intro box. It's not like a core starter box. It's an intro box to Kill Team, and when they're gone, they're gone. It's saying, how many do you think they'd make? I'd be guessing in the region of about 30,000, 40,000 of these, I would imagine. But they will not be making any made to order for this, because all of the stuff that's in this box is going to be available for sale separately afterwards. And whilst I might not like that as a sales model, because I know for a fact it'll be more expensive to buy all those bits separately, regardless of whether I like it or not, that's exactly how they're going to sell this. So don't be kind of upset about this if it sells out in 10 minutes or sells out in 15 minutes. That's what's going to happen. We all kind of know what to expect from Games Workshop. It's going to be the same thing with this one. But if you just want the rules, the rule book is going to be available. So, yeah, Ed's saying they've confirmed it's a limited box. They certainly have, mate. Yeah. And Andrew's saying the Krieg and Commander boxes will be out separately. Yeah, definitely, right. And Brandon was saying he assumed it. They actually said it on the actual stream where they announced this was going sort of for sale, for example. If I scroll down a little bit, Michael said, I really hope Kill Team brings in younger players. Old players are toxic and gatekeepery. Not all. I think that's quite assumptuous to say everybody is. I think the thing is, I don't think this is. I think people are kidding themselves if they think Kill Team is suddenly going to bring in a load of younger players. So let's not kid ourselves. Kids who are playing Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, whatever it is at the minute, who are not interested in Warhammer, are not suddenly going to change their mind because Kill Team's got a new set of rules. This might introduce some people who play other games. I think this is really designed to tempt people away from other gaming systems, people who might play Infinity, people who might play Dead Zone, people who might play some of these kind of miniature agnostic sci-fi rules. The people that thought Kill Team was a bit clunky and they don't really want to play 40k, I think this is more designed to kind of tempt some of those people over. It might attract a few new players, like if little Timmy goes into the shop with his mother or whatever and says, "Oh, I only want to collect a few models," he might be directed towards Kill Team, for example. But I think when people think this is suddenly going to have an influx of new players, I kind of think they're kidding themselves. What this will try and do is steal players away from other gaming systems who used to be GW players, who used to be 40k players, and for whatever reason, they've moved away because they want to play small-scale skirmish games, and they're not interested in the 40k rules. Tyler says, hoping Ghost Gaunt gets Kill Team treatment in a book. It wouldn't surprise me. It's the kind of thing I'd expect to see in like White Dwarf or something like that, to be fair. Let's just skip through some of these. Brian says, I'm feeling attacked as an old fart. I'm an old fart as well, mate. Don't worry about that. G Daddy Cliff says, I like to think I'm a cool elderly player. This is what I mean about it's not about necessarily about old players or experienced players. It's just there are nice players and there are nasty players, and I think age really doesn't have a lot to do with it. Let's have a look. G Daddy Cliff says, I took the terrain out of my Speed Freaks box to get a head start. That suggests that you've not touched it since you bought it, mate. I'll tell you what. Why don't we just yeah, we'll just remove it. Where are we up to here? I'm scrolling through now, try and catch up some stuff. Blizzard saying, gotta say those Kriegers look nice, very tempting. Yeah, they are quite nice, to be fair. Animus says, wonder if the rulers will still go to be like Saga, where you have to move X number of rulers in a straight line each. I mean, that still needs a bit more sort of confirming. It wouldn't surprise me if you have to move in increments of straight lines. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just kind of have rulers, if you like? I'm not really sure. Where are we here? Brandon saying, so like Underworlds with an option. No, not. I don't think it is like Underworlds, mate, if we're talking about the same thing here. Galaxy, I don't care about the symbols on the gauges. Having a square to represent 3 and pentagon to represent 6 is confusing. But if you use the gauges, there's nothing to confuse, really. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. I don't see why it needed to be symbols. I mentioned that last week. Tyler says, where did they announce the price? They didn't, mate. I'm guessing at the prices. I'm just kind of taking a best guess. If I scroll down a bit more, people are saying about, like, yeah, can you pivot kind of in, make mid-circle? I'm not really sure. This is something that they haven't really shown. The only picture they've shown of movement is in one direct straight line. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Chris Dawes is saying, would GA be like Infinity Fire teams then? The first thought that came to my mind was, is this how many of this particular model you can have in a kill team? So if it says like GA2, does it mean you can only have 2 of those in a kill team to stop you like spamming all snipers, for example? I wondered if it was more like that, kind of like as in like a general allowance type thing or something. But it's not been, or Ed says it's been confirmed as group activation. I don't think it's been confirmed, mate. Certainly not by Games Workshop anyway. Al says, I'm excited for the opposed role. Sounds much more fun than the hit with distance and cover modifiers. Wound save, out of action stuff sounds much more fun. One thing we haven't talked about and we haven't seen is about how cover is going to work yet. And so will cover reduce your dice pool or increase your opponent's dice pool for defending saves from distance, for example? Or is it going to modify your stats? Because I haven't seen anything modify stats yet. Yeah, somebody saying there about, yeah, it's not confirmed. I'll just scroll through here as well. People having a bit of a chat. I don't think there was any particular questions necessarily for me. Blizz was saying, be showing more options for other factions. They just aren't showing off the new goodies. I'm not as 100% certain, mate, on that one. I think that's what we'll see in the first book. I think the other stuff that we'll see will come out in like expansion books and stuff like that. How much is Duckworth? Says, never enjoyed Kill Team version 1. Too imbalanced and bloated. Hope this will be better. If the other Games Workshop games are anything to go by, I don't think balance is necessarily something that they're hugely interested in, if I'm honest. Most of the balance comes from like the communities, like the folks that really got behind the Kill Team competitive scene were the ones that brought some kind of balance into it, to be fair. Michael says, is that LA Rams and Raiders helmet? They are both Rams helmets, mate. The new one and like a kind of like an alternative one as well. And Rams are looking strong this year. They are, mate. I think this is our last year with Aaron Donald at his best, I think. And we really need to make use of having him in the defence. VJ saying, yeah, Boxer's going to get split all over the place. That said, hopefully that means I can pick up the rules for cheap. I think that's definitely what's going to happen, mate. Unfortunately, really. I mean, I'd like the boxes to go to people who want to play the game. That's what I'd like to see. But I think, unfortunately, we all know it's going to get picked up by scalpers because it's already been said it's going to be limited edition, and it's going to get picked up by 40k players who want those models as well. John says, my guess is they'll do a bunch of kill team boxes for various different factions. I hope they do a squat kill team. I can see them doing kill team boxes like they do Warcry boxes for Warcry, for example. I think the problem is with the existing stuff, it's going to work very much like how it works in Warcry now. So if you want to run like a Stormcast Eternal warband, you basically are expected to buy the different models from the different boxes, and you end up having to spend a fortune to get one model from this box and 2 models from that box to kind of build up your warband. Where if you buy one of the Warcry specific factions, you can get like 1,000 points in a box, and you can run that kill team, that warband as it is. I think we'll start to see that in Kill Team now. From what I understand, from what I've been told from a bit of a GW insider, they've learned a lot from that kind of Warcry model, and that we will start to see some more unusual stuff. And I think from what we're seeing in the box is probably an example of that. Things like the plastic Death Corps of Krieg, things like the Orc Commandos. It's the kind of stuff where if you've got a normal 40k army, they wouldn't sell a lot of boxes of Orc Commandos because you wouldn't necessarily need many of them in a team. Where that Kill Team is that's exactly the kind of thing that you want. Squats. I'm not so sure we'll see squats coming back. Michael says the rule book and the official Kill Team rules book are two entities. They said in stream that the rules for other factions is another compendium. Yeah, that's what I said before, mate. Is basically the rules book comes in the core box. It comes in this starter box or this core box or whatever. You will be able to buy it separately, but stats for all of the factions outside of the ones in the core box, which will still be in this book, but there's going to be a separate book that comes out on launch day. They said this on the day of the stream. Matthew Hanley says choosing what melee dice do allows for more strategy. Sacrificing defense for damages means lesser models can constantly put damage on stronger models. I agree, it does add a bit of strategy in, and I think it's quite a clever mechanic. I'm just a bit, I want to see it in action first before really kind of having a definite opinion on it. I just think it might potentially just kind of put a little stutter in the game where everything else seems like it's going to roll quite sort of fast, and I like that about Kill Team. I like that, about Warcry. I think it might kind of stutter a little bit at that point. A little bit like it used to do with the injury rolls, where you almost where you would stop and went, right, so I need to do it. So you did this many damage, like that. So that's how many injury rolls. I'm sure it'll get quicker as people get more experience, but I think that's the potential for it to stutter a little bit. Andrew said, I have no chance at the box, so I'm not even going to pay to lick attention. I like saving money. I don't think it's saving money if you were never going to buy it, mate. Brandon says, will the queue system be in place? Your guess is as good as mine, mate, but it sounds like that's exactly what's going to happen from now on. But surely the queue system only goes into place once the thing goes live to buy it. I'm not sure how it worked for Dominion at the weekend. Radek saying, I hope to do a decent set for, where was that one? For Eldar. We might see some kind of Eldar sort of specific Kill Team type models come out. That might be where it gets a little bit of extra life. Michael says the only way we can bring new players in is to lower prices. Little Timmy, his allowance isn't $50 for a box of minis. Do you know what though? I'm not sure. You say his allowance isn't $50 for a box of minis, but I bet his allowance stretches to $50 for a video game. So I'm always a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? A bit more thoughtful when it comes to this. I'm not sure dropping prices would bring in enough new players to make up the shortfall that GW would lose by dropping the prices, if that makes sense. So like if I sell this glass of water for £1, maybe not the right example. If I can sell this glass of water for £10, for example, let's say it was worth £10, would I be able to sell kind of 15 of them at £1 each to kind of give me the same level of profit by the time it's cost me for all the extra kind of manufacturing and stuff? That's kind of how it in a grander scheme, if you like. But yeah, I think unless they were significantly going to drop it, which they're not going to because everybody else is catching up with them now as well. The hobby's not cheap. GW are not they're not massively out of line with everybody else. I think people like to think they are, but if you look around, if you look at Malifaux minis, you look at War Cradle minis, you look at kind of Infinity minis, they're not miles out of line these days. I think people just see the fact that you need a lot of their models and instantly think that they're kind of like, oh well, it's it's £500 for an army kind of thing. I get that, but it is a hobby and it's a collection thing, and it's look how much kind of other things cost. Look how much like just sort of just model kits in general are not that cheap. Andrew says GW games being imbalanced is a feature, not a bug. Oh, sorry, Brandon was saying, I mean how you roll off in Underworlds and crits can only be cancelled by another crit. Yes, very much like that. Sorry. Peter Koeman, good evening, mate. Andrew says, still don't think there are scalpers. I think production run was small and demand is that large. I think there's an element of that, mate. I mean, I think there are some scalpers, as I mentioned before in the video I did a while ago. I don't for Curse City. I don't think scalpers are the issue that people think that they are. I think they're quite a small minority of the overall sales. However, I think in some instances, in this instance, I think it will just be underproduction because they're obviously going to produce all of this stuff to be able to sell outside of the box as well. But with something like Cursed City, for example, where it was Everything was for sale inside the box, well, apart from some of the models which they actually produce in-house. It's a bit of a different ball game, I think. Relic said, if you don't like Kill Team 2, just wait 2 years. I would give it 3 to be fair, mate, to be on the safe side. I'll scroll down a little bit here as well. Brian Schmidt says, I believe the attacker decides how parries play out, not both players. They basically, you take turns, mate, from what it said in the GW article, starting with the attacker, you take turns deciding which way it pays out. Michael says, I hope we get £10 smaller boxes with easy to build models to lure new players in. Do not expect it, mate. It never happened for Warcry. It's very, very unlikely going to happen for this either. Expect sort of £35 to £40 kill team, sort of kill team boxes which have a playable kill team in them. Andrew says, I'd probably buy more stuff. I'd probably buy more stuff if it was cheaper. It's why I tend to buy the box sets, even if I don't own the armies. But I guess that gets into a completely different conversation of you're buying stuff because it's cheap for stuff that you don't really play or you don't really need. That, like, surely that in its essence is that's GW's. That's why they do those boxes in the first place, to hook people in who wouldn't ordinarily buy that stuff. And they know it's limited edition, and they know they'll sell out, and they get a whole load of hype about it. I guess I just see it differently. Jamie says, hello everyone, new kill team melee rules are similar to 2nd edition 40k close combat, well before my time, mate. I've got no idea. Evil Spidey Tube says, the queuing system is much better than the site crashing when the pre-orders go live. If you're on this website before 10 AM, then you're placed randomly in the queue. The problem with that is that basically everybody's going to be on the site before 10 AM in the same way that they always kind of were, really. But then, but how early do you need to be on the site? Will people log onto the site the day before and just keep it logged in? Like I don't understand kind of how that works, really. If they were a bit clearer about it, it would make more sense. And Evil Spidey Tube says, if you go onto the site after 10 AM, you're placed at the back of the queue. Had to wait 10 minutes to access the site. Michael says, I missed the old 5 Cadians for £8 and 3 Space Marines for £8. Do they not still do that? I think they still do some of those easy to build kits, mate. They mentioned on the live stream that there will be boxes for factions like Space Marines with customizable options to save having to kit bash. Well, that's interesting if they're going to start doing something like that, because I think generally in the past, in the past with things like Warcry, if it was an existing faction, they've not like sculpted a new thing. But I guess this is one way they can start to bring in some unusual units that they wouldn't necessarily kind of sell a full box of. And Brandon's saying the queue kicks you out. So I guess there's still got to be a cut-off point when you've got to be in before 10, but not too early before 10. It's a bit weird, isn't it, mate? Anyway, so yeah, that's everything that we know so far about Kill Team. What do you think? Has it kind of changed your mind? Do you know enough now that you're interested in it? Do you like it even less now? Is there something that's putting you off? I'd like to understand what people think. Evil Spices, you give you 10 minutes to meet your purchase and then you kick off the site. Yeah, I think a lot of sites are like that, to be fair. They give you 10 minutes to kind of purchase it. Things like buying tickets for like sporting events, for concert tickets, music events, that kind of stuff. And Andrew says, yeah, it would be nice if we were told that. That's the kind of thing. Like, you don't do a trial for a big release. You do a trial for like something else, don't you? How much is it worth? If it was Steel Legion, it would be an insta buy. I could see that kind of thing, to be fair, mate. I could see something like that. Like those kind of unusual stuff. A little bit like the factions that we got in the Rogue Trader box that came out for Kill Team a couple of years ago. Al says, I'm all in on new Kill Team. I must admit, I'm kind of more interested now than I was, I'll be honest. The models in the box are not really kind of hooking me, but I know for a fact it's probably worth the value of it to buy it in the box rather than just pick up the rule book and the other bits and pieces. So we'll see. Born to Lose, Live to Win says, sorry, got here. Have you covered this? Any idea of release date? Yeah, it's been going for pre-order in August, mate. So we don't know if it's the start of August or the end of August, but we do know it is going up for pre-order in August. Dice says, missed all the explanation. Prior Kill Team was one of my most played games of the year, equal to Star Wars Legion. I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. Ed says, always going to be in, as it's my main GW game and their best competitive offering. Kill Team died, I must admit, in my local area. Like, nobody plays it now. It's a game that you never ever see on the table anywhere. You never hear of anybody playing it. Those people just play 40k or they play other games, which is what my point before really about, like, I think this redesign of Kill Team, it's not designed to suddenly bring new people into gaming. There's nobody out there kind of sitting playing video games or knitting jumpers thinking, if only there was an easier to play skirmish game using 40k miniatures that didn't use the 40k rules. No, there's nobody out there doing that. This is designed to pull people back from other gaming companies. So those people that have wandered over and played Code 1, the ones that have wandered off to play Marvel Crisis Protocol, the ones that have wandered off to play kind of one-page rules and all of those kind of miniature agnostic stuff using their old miniatures. That's why they're doing this. They're trying to drag back all of those older players, if you like. Because that's how you corner the market. Basically, you can either grow your share by getting new people into the hobby, which is really, really hard work, or you can grow your share by just stealing customers from competitors. And that is much easier to do. If you can come up with a valid offering that will get somebody to say, you know what it is, I thought I was done with GW stuff, but actually this new game looks fantastic, I'm going to go back and play it. You grow your market share much more easily by stealing from your competitors than you do from trying to introduce new people into the hobby. I'm not saying they're not trying to get new people into the hobby, but I think that's where things like these sort of really cheap starter boxes for Age of Sigmar and for 40k come in. Those kind of £20 sort of entry price or £30 entry price boxes with like sort of 10 models in, a little bit of terrain and sort of quick sort of how to play rules inside, and then people get hooked into that and kind of grow from there. But I honestly think things like Kill Team and Warcry are designed to corner the market and bring people back in. Dice Tale saying, hope we get Elites out of the gate and Star Striders 2 in that faction book. It'll be interesting. I mean, the faction book thing that we know we're going to get, it's going to be interesting because if what they've shown on their website, which I went through before, is all we're going to get, that suggests that we're going to have expansions coming out very, very quickly, a bit like they did with Rogue Trader and Elites and Commandos. Blitz says, I'm unchanged in my opinion. I like the minis. The rules sound great, but still not playing GW's FOMO game. You don't have to play. I think you're kind of missing that, but you don't have to play the FOMO game. You don't have to buy this box set. You only have to buy the rules and buy the stat lines. Everything else you either already have with miniatures that you've got that you can use, or you can kind of buy the bits that you like. So you don't have to get involved in that fear of missing out stuff. Making this up as I go. Hello, David. He's not interested in 40k. I'd like to see reviews of Kill Team rules before I decide to buy in. I do think Death Corps Krieg looks rad. I can see picking up a set of them when they are available as standalone. Yeah, it shouldn't be too long afterwards, I would imagine. Matthew saying Melee would definitely be slower, but seems to like it'll play out more like slow-mo action than feeling bogged down. A lot of sweating out what your opponent will do with their dice. Yeah, I don't disagree, mate. I think it just feels like the rest of the game is set up to be relatively streamlined, and then it feels like you'll hit this kind of like, right, hang on, we need to do combat now. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. I hope it doesn't work like that. I hope it's much more streamlined and it's stuff where you kind of... When I say streamlined, I don't mean simplified. I just mean intuitive. That basically it's easy to remember, it's easy to pick up type thing, and it speeds up as you understand it better. Elliot's saying, definitely a niche, perfect for me because I can't spend 40k level time, money, but love the universe. This is exactly my point, mate. So this is exactly the kind of person GW is trying to hook with games like Warcry and Kill Team. They're just trying to pull back from their competitors, people that have left playing 40k games. Because let's be honest, the vast majority of people get into wargaming through a GW game at some point. Or if they didn't, they certainly are aware of GW games and have probably tried them, or have kind of said, I can't afford to spend that much time and money on one of these bigger games I know I'll never get to play, so I'm going to go and play this little skirmish game from a competitor. That's the target market for these. Leandra Christine, hello there, says, I think it's a good jumping in point for new players if you're a gaming advocate. Bring 2 painted up forces, showing the game it's easier than to direct interested people into a €50 team box. I do agree, but when we're saying new players, I think we need to kind of separate what's a new player, as in somebody that has never played a miniatures game before, and how did they get to the point where they're interested, versus demoing the game at a gaming club or a gaming store for people that play other games. I think that's where the target is. Yeah, Ed saying, I really wouldn't expect anything not on the page in the initial release. I agree, mate. I think what's on that page is what's going to be in that book. Hope Lives says, yes, interested but torn. I'd rather get one book with all the factions so I can put together factions. Only want the orcs from the new box, but we'll check price of the rules and stuff. The benefit, if you like, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, one of the reasons why they do these 2 books is obviously they can sell 2 books rather than one. The other reason is because it gives them more time to balance out the points and work out the points lists, because they can print the book with the stat lines in later, where the core book with all of the rules in has to be printed in advance, because that all has to be packaged into these starter boxes, if you like, that then have to get out and get sent out. So I read somewhere that was one of the reasons why they started doing it with like chapter approved and with the General's Handbook stuff with the points in, is it gave them more time to be able to work on that kind of stuff. I'm sure one of the biggest reasons is they can sell twice as many books, if you like. But it also means the core rules don't change, and then every 12 months or whatever, when they tweak and update points lists, it's one new book to buy. And hopefully they don't kind of take the mick with it. It's not like a $40 book or something stupid like that. Like if it was £15-20, even that's expensive, but kind of stomachable, if you like. Vijay saying, yeah, I'm not buying anything. I see a few back reps to see if I like the rules. That's kind of where I am, I think, mate. I still want to know more about it. I'm tempted to, like, if I can't see a bat rep until after it goes on sale, I'm still tempted to maybe try and get one. And if I don't like it, I can always kind of shift it on to somebody that does want it at the price I paid for it, without even opening it. So I'd rather maybe do it like that than miss out. But if I miss out, I miss out. I'm not going to kind of cry about it, if you like. Brandon says, it's way off, but what does Kill Team 2 mean for Warcry? GW's greatest game to date. That's my leg. Do you think we might get further hybrid? I don't think it means anything for Warcry, mate. I think that Warcry will continue as it is. I think we'll probably start to see, so it'll get a little bit of love at some point. We'll see some more factions for it. We'll probably get another expansion book. We're probably, how long is it now since all of the different faction books or the Allegiance books come out? I think we'll probably do something now. Anthony Garza, hello. He says, as a new player 40k and a fan of Death Corps of Krieg, I couldn't be more stoked for the Octarius box. Big 40k, takes a long time to set up, and player have always been interested in Kill Team to try. Yeah, it was one of the reasons I was interested in Kill Team as well. And like I say, I enjoyed the games that I played with my friends, but we were playing a very much kind of homebrewed version of it. If we wanted to play it at like a local store or at an event or something like that, the full rules, if you like, were probably a little bit bogged down. Radek says, in the age of free rules and list building apps, buy the rules in the stat book sounds wrong. Not everybody gives away free rules. I mean, there's a lot that do, but not everyone does, to be fair. And not everybody is the size of GW, so they've earned the right to kind of to do what they want to do, really, and it's up to us as consumers to decide if we want to support that or not. If people really cared that much, they wouldn't pay it. Tyler says, if I slip you an extra 20, can you pre-order me on Goblin as soon as it drops? I don't get any sort of pre-order promises from Goblin. I pre-order mine through the same process everybody else does. They don't allow me to pre-order early, So I go on the website and I still order it myself as well. Hodginder says it seems similar to Underworlds with the dice, which would be good. I can't be asked to calculate the dice rolls. The only thing that put me off Underworlds was the price increase from 17 to 25. Yeah, I know what you mean. I guess once you factor in kind of 20% discounts from stores and stuff, it's maybe not quite so bad to swallow. Frantic says, I just tried the one-page rules last weekend just to have more streamlined rules to use my 40k minis. This new Kill Team rule set looks intriguing. Andrew says, Warcry 2 coming in December with a new collection of rule books. I'd be surprised, actually, after they've just released all those Allegiance books. Or Alliance. Is Allegiance Alliance? I think we'll probably just get more, like Monsters and Mercenaries type things. I think we'll get more of that. I don't think the game needs an update. It's pretty solid as it is. People who play it enjoy it. The people that don't play it never played it anyway. So I think there's still enough kind of love for the game. How much is Duck says, Battlescribe only goes so far. Books are generally more trustworthy. I'm sure I've read somewhere as well that there's already a Kill Team roster app. A bit like the Varenscribe website that used to be around as well for Warcry. Brandon says, I was thinking end of the year. Yeah, I don't think we'll see it end of the year. Andrew said it was a joke. Yeah, nice one. Nice one. I need to have a drink of water. Excuse me, folks. So, what else is everybody else looking forward to at the minute? Because I'll be honest, when I'm looking for topics, for things to talk about on Monday nights, I kind of look to see what people are talking about. I look to see what's new in the gaming industry, what's new in the world. And I must admit, other than the Kill Team stuff at the minute, which is obviously it's normal GW hype type stuff. And to be fair, I'm almost sitting on the sideline as an interested party myself. I'm neither hyped about it nor kind of like, oh, definitely not for me kind of thing. I'm weighing it up for myself at the minute. What's everybody else kind of looking into now? What's everybody else interested in? What's the new thing I should be looking at and should be talking about? Ed says Warcry will get a new edition next year or the year after. GW will always move the edition on. It wouldn't surprise me if it gets a new starter box or something like that. I'd be surprised if they. Would I be surprised? I wouldn't be surprised. Let's be honest, it's GW. I wouldn't be surprised, but it'd be interesting anyway. Lord Bain says, new Magic the Gathering set. I'm not the slightest bit interested in Magic the Gathering. ER910 says, I'm looking for a new Kill Team. Hope GW make more standalone teams for Kill Team and Warcry. Yeah, my assumption is they will, mate. Andrew says, looking forward to getting most of my hearing back. Infection blew up my eardrum. Ouch, mate. Hope you're okay with it. Tyler says, I'm always curious on people's projects. What new games they're playing and how do you decide on paint schemes? Yeah, I must admit, I quite like hearing what other people are up to and stuff like that. How do I decide on a paint scheme? It'll either be I've got an idea of something, just like a particular colour that I want to paint or something like that. Or I'll follow the box art or something, or I'll see somebody else's online, it'll inspire me, or I'll be just trying to find a quick paint scheme I can get done fast. VG says, new Dead Zone. I don't know anything about me. I know as much as anybody else. I've kind of, there was that teaser at the end of the last stream about was it Isolation Protocol 3, which made me think it was going to be kind of Dead Zone 3, if you like. But I don't know, it's not been confirmed yet. Like, so I've got my ear to the ground as well, mate, the same as everybody else. Has anyone used Chimera paint? I've never heard of it, mate. Evil Spidey Tube says Duncan Rhodes has launched a new line of paints. Do we need another line of paints? Is there anything that the lines of paints out there aren't already doing? Unless they're going to be half the price or twice the size. I kind of feel like there's enough paint ranges out there already, but I'm sure he's got his own name, if you like, to put alongside them, which will get him a little bit of brand recognition, if you like. But it's a weird one because the assumption will be it's not some brand new paint company. It'll be a paint company that already releases paints. Will be putting them in pots or whatever, or dropper bottles. In his case, it might be purely for his marketing, if you like. So I don't really get excited about paint ranges. I use what I use. I'm not an amazing painter. I'm a hobby painter. I paint for fun and I paint for enjoyment, and I tend not to get too kind of hung up on different kind of paints. Frantic says the rumoured Horus Heresy set that's supposed to come. Yeah, Horus Heresy's never interested me, mate. Bill says just pre-ordered Overdrive. Looking forward to playing it with my kids. I've just pre-ordered Overdrive as well, but I've pre-ordered it for the Mantic hobby camp thing. What's it called? Was it a hobby camp? What was it called again? I can't remember now. They had a special name for it. Let's see if I can find what it was called. That was it. It was the boot camp, the Overdrive boot camp, where you go down to Mantic for a few days and sort of build and paint your set and play some games and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to be going there. Yeah, Radek saying it was teased by Mantic. Yeah, it was teased by Mantic, but there's been nothing confirmed as of yet. Coyote Peace, I hope they had more Rogue Trader factions. I think that is the plan, mate, yeah. John Estel, good evening, sir. Says just in from a game of Armada. Good fun, and I think I'm understanding it. I'm glad you are, mate. You can point me in the right direction before we go for the tournament. Al says, I really don't want a new edition of Warcry. It's marvellous. Glad to see new kill team. Heretic that I am. Yeah, I don't particularly want a new edition of Warcry, but as is GW's sort of business model, it wouldn't surprise me if they did. Tony says, I'm getting more into small mini manufacturers. There's a lot of talent out there, and it's nice to explore, support newer or smaller companies and do something a bit different. When you're just painting for fun, mate, the world's your oyster, isn't it? You can have whatever you want, basically. Just buy the models you like the look of. The game is irrelevant at that point. Ice Moon says, Brent from the Painted Bravely podcast also leaked that Army Painter are releasing a new line of airbrush paints. So they're going to thin their paints down. Connor says, I lost interest in painting, but I grabbed some easy building Stormcast Eternals at the weekend, starting to prefer them to Space Marines. Yeah, Space Marines are like, they're a bit of a blank canvas for people when they're first starting out. But I must admit, there's quite a lot of stuff on them to paint. They're certainly not. They're not the easiest of things to paint. Like there's a lot of bits of like fine detail and stuff. There's other models that would be easier for a beginner, I think. Hodginder said he's currently working on his Blood Bowl team in Middle-earth Gondorians. Nothing new. Nice one, though. Bliss says, will it be called Two Thin Coats? I tell you what, it has to be, doesn't it? Otherwise, he's going to lose that one. Andrew says, wish Duncan had more videos. I think he does if you pay for them, mate. Andy Yates says, have you been interested in any of the new Malifaux releases? I've been building Jed's the core box and enjoying it a lot. I've got a stack of Malifaux stuff, mate, right over there that I haven't even gotten to yet. So yeah, I must admit I'm a bit behind on my Malifaux stuff. Andrew says, it's just GW paints, but they pre-thinned them. Use them right out of the pot. I like the fact that they're not pre-thinned because they last longer. Like, I like to kind of thin them to the right consistency myself. Tizzy Braindrin says the rumours are that there's a lot of stuff in the works for Star Wars Legion, and I'm definitely interested in that. I think Atomic Mass Games seem to have their handle on kind of release schedules and stuff. I mean, the stuff they put out for Marvel Crisis Protocol is unbelievable. So it'll be interesting once they kind of get into that routine of starting to release stuff. Be interesting to see what they do with that game. Lobin says, I think I'm waiting for Pirates of the Red Sea, Gangs of the Undercity, Core Request, and maybe some Burrows and Badgers. Interesting, mate. So do you get out gaming much? Do you actually get out and play many games, or are you mainly just enjoying painting them, mate? Krabby, good evening, mate. How are you doing? Long time no speak. Hope you're keeping well. Almost echoed there by Tony. Wow, it is hot tonight. It's definitely heating up. I'm sure you'll be able to see the shininess from my head right now. So, how we doing? We still got over 100 of you folks in. Yeah, I must admit, I'm kind of... I feel torn about talking about Kill Team, if I'm perfectly honest, because I am interested in it, but then it's content that always does well. So you kind of get torn between a rock and a hard place, where it's like, there's not much else happening at the minute. That's the biggest thing that's happening in gaming at the moment, and it's a thing that everybody's talking about. When I talked about it almost kind of incidentally last week, my views went through the roof again, as they always do when I talk about GW stuff. So in lieu of having something more kind of sort of like meaty as a topic to get into, it's kind of hard to know what to talk about. And that's why I say to you, what am I missing out there? Because I feel like we're going through the back end of the kind of like the shipping issues and stuff. So companies I think we're starting to feel now where things are getting delayed, where things are not, they're not shipping from China. I think if you're into board games and stuff, and you see what's been happening with like kind of with companies with Kickstarters and stuff, the back end of this year is going to be really light with board games because companies are just not, they're just not getting their stuff shipped in time. It's not making the boats and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like we're going through a bit of a lull at the moment. There's a few companies are releasing bits and pieces, but a lot of that stuff is kind of is stuff that can produce at home, if you like. Shipping costs are going through the roof. We're seeing companies like Mantic have had a price increase. I think Warlord just put a price increase through as well. So we're starting to see some of these companies being affected now by the tail end of all the issues. And I just think there's not a lot of stuff sort of being hyped up at the minute or being talked about. Krabby says, getting out of bed for these night shifts is killing me. I used to hate night shifts, mate. I used to work a week of 6 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and then a week of 2 in the afternoon till 10 at night, and then go back to 6 till 2s. And then we moved to like a continental, what they called a continental shift pattern, which I worked 2 days, 7 in the morning until 7 at night, 2 12-hour days. And then I worked 2 nights, 2 12-hour nights, 7 at night till 7 in the morning. And then I had 4 days off. So I worked 4 days on, 4 days off, and keep rotating it. And that constant switching between day shift and night shift and day shift and night shift and a few days off, it proper screwed up my shift, my sleep patterns and stuff for ages. Lobian says he's been going to his local club again, was primarily a playing gamer, not a painter. Tyler says, it's too soon to ask what you'll be painting on Wednesday. I'm not really sure, mate, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm not sure what I'll be painting. I need to get something prepped tomorrow. My little boy started his school holidays now as well. He's off for 7 weeks. So I'm obviously looking after him during the days as well. My wife's obviously working, but she's trying to help out. And we're trying to kind of come up with a plan between us where it might mean I have to work on evenings and look after him during the days. And it's going to be a bit chaotic for the next 7 weeks, put it that way. But yeah, tomorrow at some point I'll try and prep a model ready to paint on Wednesday. So yeah, I've got no idea at the moment, mate. VG says he's ordered 3 tiny epic games he wanted at the weekend. Looking forward to those turning up. James Brace says, I've been having a bit of a hobby sort out and doing some finishing touches. Marcus is saying, are Germans okay? I heard there was some extreme flooding. There have been some extreme flooding. Certainly of the German folks that we had in earlier on, there was one saying that they were fine. It wasn't they weren't affected by it, but I guess the ones that were affected are probably not on the stream tonight. I don't think we're the priority. Andy Yates, hello mate. So I was just introduced to Gaslands recently. Got some Hot Wheels cars and looking forward to converting them up. Nice one, mate. I've played a few games of Gaslands. Not a bad game. Vijay says pretty frustrated the Mortal Kombat mini games being delayed, probably until November, December. That said, it does give me more time to save up. Not meaning to kind of like piss on your thistle, mate, as they say, but it wouldn't surprise me if it gets pushed back even further as well. I'm reading loads of stuff online about stuff getting shipped, getting pushed back and back and back and back. So yeah, I think it's one of them where you just you look forward to when it does arrive, I think. Tyler saying his club were big into Gaslands for a while as well. Crowley says permanent nights at the minute until I can find something else. I can't make any streams. Job's a job, mate, isn't it? You got to go where the work is at the moment. But yeah, permanent nights is okay apart from it doesn't work on weekends. So if you work say Monday to Friday a night shift and then you try to have the weekend with your family and stuff, like you then have to get up during the day. So like you have to alter your sleep pattern for like 1 or 2 days and then go back to nights again. That kind of stuff it's a killer, mate. You've got my sympathies on that one. Like me and my wife have kind of a completely different kind of sleep pattern. She'd much rather go to bed early and get up early, where I'd much rather kind of like lie in a bit and go to bed a bit later. And even that kind of like plays havoc. Never mind kind of what you have to go through with you working nights, mate. So anyway, it is absolutely blooming roasting. We've got 90 of you in here still, so I would normally keep it going, but it feels like the chat's drying up a little bit now. I'm going to go and get another drink because I've drank that and it's a bit hot in here. So we're going to call it a night. I will see you on Wednesday for the live stream, for the painting, the hobby hangout live stream. And I'm going to do my best to try and kind of get in and do some other bits and pieces around looking after the little one as well while we're doing that. So please take care, everyone. Stay safe. If you are out in the sunshine and stuff, be safe and get your sunscreen on. But please, please, please Get out, get some fresh air, enjoy the sun, because when it's gone and it's pissing it down, we'll all be moaning about it. Yeah, take care, folks, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month, and there is lots of different tiers and bonuses which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.